with Elliott Powell. And you know what time it is? It is 9 a.m. Eastern, it's Saturday morning, and time for a Sales Logic. Hanging out here with my partner, my co-host, Mark Hunter. How you doing today, Mark?
I am doing great, and we got a great show today. We're going to be talking about how important is self-discipline when it comes to sales. We got a great question from a sales leader asking that about his sales team. And the lightning round, top 10 ways to exercise. I didn't say exercise self-discipline.
Okay, nice. Well, all right, get your questions ready, get your thoughts ready as it relates to discipline and sales. Mark and I will start this video and we will jump into the show.
Prospect with integrity, we will get customers who have integrity. Integrity is the foundation from which everything is built on.
You better understand value. But at the end of the day, sales is a relationship business. It is a people business. It is an emotional business.
This is Sales Logic.
This is Sales Logic, the show where we dive into the strategies, discuss the steps, everything that you need to know to sell more effectively. Now, Mark, you're going to give us the run of show today, but basically I wanted to start everybody off by encouraging you to be a part of this program. We start every program with a question from you, the audience. So if you have a question, reach out to us at saleslogicpodcast.com. We recommend a book, have a hot topic, and you leave with a lightning round. So Mark, what do we have on the table today?
Well, the topic is how important is self-discipline in sales? And of course, we practice self-discipline every Saturday morning, being right here at Sales Logic. But anyway, hey, the question, and let me jump to the lightning round, because lightning round is going to be really kind of cool. We're going to talk about top 10 ways to exercise self-discipline. Okay, the question comes to us from Simon in the UK. He asks, how do I get my sales team to use their time more effectively? They complain they don't have enough time to prospect, and yet I see them wasting time talking amongst themselves and doing other non-productive things. Gee, a typical question from every sales manager out there.
Yeah. So I think that you need to get really clear on what your expectations are of them, both behaviorally and as well as results. You need to let them know. The thing that I don't like about managing time with people is my feeling is make as many personal phone calls as you want, have as many conversations as you want. I don't want to have to police that, but I will police the behaviors that you're required to do and that should fit into a weekly process.
That is so spot on. And one of the issues that I think sales managers get hung up on is they get focused on just the time. It's the quality of the time that counts. That's what's so key. I mean, you're a champion of that. You dial in to work and then you dial out and you go play tennis, you go play ball, you dial back in, you dial out. There are times that you turn it on and turn it off. Simon, you have to ask yourself the question, are you seeing just a little small snippet or are you seeing the entire day? And here's the thing that I'll come back to you, Simon. What do they see in how you use your time? You will never be able to get your people to do things unless they see you doing it.
Yeah, that is such a great point. You definitely want to role model it. The other thing I would say, Simon, is spend a day with some of your salespeople. See how they're spending it. If they're telling you they don't have time to do some things, then spend the day. See where the time is being spent. They may legitimately not have time because they think other things have a bigger priority. I was just dealing with a client with this last week, and people can't get things done in her division. Well, they're doing things for other departments and other divisions. Admirable. I mean, they're a good team player, but they're doing it at the expense of the goal. So you need to say to people, these are the priorities. And if you have time to do anything else, then do it. But first and foremost, do these things.
So spot on there, because here's what I see happening. people will get themselves wrapped on the axle on things that they don't have any control over. And what happens is they wind up spending more and more time dealing with things. No, focus on what you can control. Good morning. Good morning, Paul. Hey, I know that name. I know that guy. He's from New Jersey. Great friend. Haven't talked to you in years. We need to catch up.
I'm going to add to Simon. The other thing you need to look at is, do you have the right people? The one thing that I have learned about salespeople is anybody who loves sitting behind a desk never has time to make a sales call. Anybody who loves being on the street never has time to enter things into their CRM. People are going to default to what they love to do. You always have time for the things that you love to do. So I would have some questions in there as well.
I like that because you focus on what you can control. You focus on what you love doing. And here's what I find: productivity skyrockets, just as you said. If they enjoy being out making sales calls, you know what? Clear the deck so they can make more of those sales calls out. If they're inside, focus in on, but focus on their strengths. The way you lead a sales team is not universally with one set of rules and criteria that governs everybody. Okay, there's policies and procedures, but you motivate and you excite and you push people to the next level with individual strategies for each individual person.
Yeah, I love what Jackie Joy is saying here. Too many salespeople get ready to get ready to get ready and not focus on the important tasks that move the needle. Perfection is the enemy of the sales, of the sales process. But when people tell me they don't have time to prospect, there's a couple of things happening there. Number one is they may not know how to prospect. And if they don't know how to prospect, they need to get our friend's book here on high profit prospecting by Mark Hunter. The other is that they don't like it. They're uncomfortable doing it. And you need to get up under those reasons that they are uncomfortable doing it and help them as the sales leader and the coach that you are. And for anybody on here who functions more like Mark and I function into your individual businesses, if you have parts of your business that you don't like to do, if there's things you're procrastinating because somewhere you're uncomfortable with that, and figure out why you're uncomfortable and either get somebody else to do it or fix that piece yourself.
See, I want to come back and talk about that whole piece. Are they even comfortable prospecting? I find people will waste a lot of time. No, they'll spend a lot of time doing things to keep them from doing what they have to do. And I see this time and time again. I was just dealing with a VP of sales this week. We were going through looking at some of the salespeople that have, and there's one particular person who's always wrapped up in other issues, because what it comes down to, they're really afraid to pick up the phone and make it happen. So what do we have here? We don't have an issue with them being distracted, being wrapped up. No, we have an issue of them not being comfortable, not being confident in doing what they're supposed to be doing. Now, we can't overcome that. If we can't help them with that skill, develop that skill, then they shouldn't be part of the organization. Period.
Absolutely. I also think that, there could be some legitimate reasons they don't have time to prospect. I was working with a sales team a couple of months ago, and inside that sales team, they were really responsible for deeply servicing every sale they made. And servicing a sale takes a lot of time and a lot of energy. And they didn't have a service department. They didn't really, operations was not well staffed. And the complaints that the sales team had were legitimate. So we had to go back to the CEO and say, you need to make a decision. If you want to grow, we're going to need to staff up service because you're going to need to free up the salespeople. If you're fine where you are, great. But understand there's only so much that the salespeople can do to add new business. So Simon, I'm going to argue that right now, you don't have enough information to understand what the issue is.
Yeah, I want to run with that for a second, because you just talked about the elephant in the room in many small businesses where there may be only one or two salespeople, and they're really doing everything. So what happens is they naturally default to taking existing customers. Why? Because the owner, the senior management says, hey, got to make sure you take care of this. Got to make sure you take care of this. Check on that. And what happens is they then, I guess I have to take care of existing customers. And as a result, no time to prospect. So you have to really evaluate the entire process, the entire situation. But Simon, to kind of close this out, I'm going to come back and I'm going to challenge you. Leadership is 80% self-controlled. In other words, it's up to you. You are the one that has to demonstrate and model. This is child parent 101, and your kids are going to behave the way they see you behaving. Your salespeople are going to behave the way. So if they see you doing everything unproductive, guess what? That's what they're going to focus in on. So anyway, great question. Yeah.
Well, I just want to add, and Simon, I'm going to challenge you. I think the first thing you need to do Monday morning is pick a sales rep, spend the day with them, see what's really going on there. And keeping with what Mark said, it's the most productive thing that you can do. Mark, I do think let's answer George's question for him. First of all, congratulations, George, finishing up your second book on employee retainment and keeping the entire team at work engaged. What are the basics to launch a sales strategy and keeping the discipline around that?
Wow, that run hours just on this piece right here, but I say you got to go to the end game first. What is it that your customers are looking for? Figure out that, and then how are you going to service them? How are you going to deal with them? And then back your way up to understand, okay, now what are activities, what are actions, what are the strategies we have to have in place to be able to do that? Then from that, I can begin to determine, okay, the self-discipline. What are the types of people I'm going to be needing to hire? What are the actions? What's the structure? What's the organization going to look like? But first, I got to go all the way to the end and see, what are my customers looking for?
Yeah, George, I'd say, again, congratulations on a second book. That's a huge accomplishment. Number one is write your sales strategy. Don't worry about it being perfect, but when are you going to launch the book? What are you going to do to launch it? Where do you need to get the information out? Things like you're going to send a copy of your book to every customer you've ever had. You're going to make a list of prospects that you're going to send a copy of this book to. You're going to have podcasts that you want to get on, things like that into the sales strategy. And you can simply Google sales strategies for books. Then give yourself 1 hour every day to focus on selling your book. An hour is manageable. You'll do it. But if you don't go ahead and block the calendar, you're not going to keep yourself disciplined about it. And if an hour is too much for you, give yourself 30 minutes. But it is that consistent focus that's going to get you there.
Boy, that just hits right on one of the key things about self-discipline, time blocking. We got a great online chat going. Larry jumping in here. You're right. Sales professionals hold themselves accountable to do the things that sales reps find excuses not to do. And that is prospecting. That is non-negotiable. And boy, if there's one person who understands prospecting and banging on doors, it's Larry. You are so spot on there with that. Hey, so let's talk about the topic, because how important is self-discipline in sales?
Well, I think it's everything in sales. I mean, I am not a disciplined person by nature. I mean, people never.
Wait, hold on. Drop the mic. You're not self-disciplined. You are one of the most self-disciplined people I know.
Well, let me finish the thought. I taught myself. I taught myself to be self-disciplined. I was the kid who could not get to an 11 o'clock class in college. I couldn't get up in time to get to an 11 o'clock class. I had to drop so many classes because I didn't show up, didn't do the homework. It's not my nature. And the important thing I think about that is, I think that most people would say I'm the most self-disciplined person they know. That self-discipline is something that could be taught. So I'm going to begin by saying you have to decide to be self-disciplined. Discipline is not anything anybody else can do for you. Believe me, I got bad grades. I got yelled at by my parents. Everybody was on my case because I would not do what was expected of me. But it didn't matter until I made the decision to be self-disciplined.
Okay, full confession. I didn't even want a class before noon, and I wanted to be done with class by 2 o'clock. Okay, I wanted to squeeze them in between like noon and 2. because if I got to bed before 3 a.m., I was lucky, or 4 a.m. Yeah, it was in. But anyway, back to this whole issue. You're right. Self-discipline is something you know what's very interesting is I don't consider myself self-disciplined. And yet people around me say, my wife always said, you're incredibly disciplined. And I said, no, I'm not. But it starts with being willing to be focused. We talked about the atomic habits. Whenever I'm coaching senior leaders, whenever I'm talking to senior leaders, I always say, read the book Atomic Habits. Great book on how you take those little habits and turn them into a very set routine. That is without a doubt. You and I, we talked about Sales Logic podcast for several years, and we never could really get around to it until we got disciplined and said Saturday mornings, 9 a.m. Eastern time. Boom.
Yeah.
It's amazing how it happens.
Yeah. Which I think you're saying something that's so important too. I think discipline is something that you should start small. There's a million things we want to be disciplined at. We want to be disciplined in making our sales calls. We want to be disciplined with exercise. We want to be disciplined at eating better. We want to be disciplined at spending more time with the people we love and we care about. If you try to climb that mountain all at once, you're going to fail at it. So start small. If you need to make more sales calls than you're making right now, time block a little bit more time to make a couple of sales calls. I always tell people I make 2 sales calls a day, and most people look at me and go, oh my God, that's all you make? Well, that works for me. I'm disciplined at it. I never skip it, not 365 days a year, because I didn't make the goal too big.
That is so key there, because I tell people also when they're trying to get in, set it so low that you can make it. Because what happens is momentum creates momentum. And when you accomplish a goal and you accomplish it consistently, then guess what? You begin increasing it. You begin slowly increasing it if that's what your desire is. And the key is when you start setting your discipline strategy, if you fail, give yourself grace. It's okay. You just start over. But the idea is to get it into a routine that it always happens. And I was reading an article this week, 75% of all CEOs get up before 6 a.m. And I was surprised it was only 75%. And I was surprised it was 6 a.m. and not 5 a.m. Because I really firmly believe how you start that first hour or two of the day is so critical to your success throughout the day.
Yeah, Larry, I love this. Napoleon Hill interviewed Andrew Carnegie back in 1908 and asked him what made him so successful. It's a combination of self-discipline and constructive habits. Absolutely. Those two things together. Another thing I want to talk about, though, when it comes to self-discipline, and it kind of goes with making the decision, but I think it's mindfulness. Like being really mindful about what you want to do. I mean, one reason I don't skip my sales calls, even when I don't want to make them, is I think to myself, what do I want? What's really going to fulfill me? What's going to make me happy? What's going to build my business? I think about things before I do them or before I skip them. We were at an event. I've been on the road the last 10 days, and we were at an event, and for the third night in a row, somebody served dessert and I didn't eat it. And somebody said, how can you be that self-disciplined around it? And I said, well, I think this dessert's going to give me pleasure for about 5 or 10 minutes. And I won't feel good the next day on that overload of sugar. So it becomes an easy decision for me, but because of mindfulness.
Oh, I think that is so spot on, because you're focused on that and you know what the long-term play is. We got a lot of great comments. Spencer, I love this comment. I feel without a passion and purpose other than money won't happen. Now, I'm going to take money off the table because I think there's other reasons people do things. But let's talk about passion and purpose. And this comes back to prospecting. Here's what I think really turns the table from a prospecting standpoint. When you know you can make a difference in other people. Because I always say, if I have the ability to help someone, I owe it to them to reach out to them because I'm committed. I look at sales. Sales is about helping people. And to me, that's kind of a cool reason to get up in the morning. Okay. And that's the cool reason why I do what I do. Because when I can have conversations with people, when I can share with people, that fuels my engine. That's my passion and purpose. And I think when you can get your passion and purpose to drive, now again, you can go broke chasing your passion. I totally get that. So you got to be in a function that you can make money at. But when you balance the two together, which you do have in sales, it's amazing what can happen. But you got to be self-disciplined to do it.
Yeah. And you know what? Here's the other thing too. Self-discipline. Sometimes you got to do stuff you don't want to do. Like suck it up. I mean, you have to, self-discipline is saying, I am going to do some things that I would, rather not do. Left to my own devices, I would be out riding a mountain bike, playing golf or playing tennis 24 hours a day. Those are my favorite things to do. But I can't. I have other things I need to do. So self-discipline is about saying, what are the things that I need to do, and set a priority around those and make them happen.
That reminds me of a line my mom used to use when we were kids. Now, she was a third grade teacher for 30 some years, but she used to say, suck it up, buttercup. That was her deal. Just get it done. You do. And I think the more self-disciplined you are, the more willing you are to do what you really don't want to do, because you know you need to do it. Because ultimately, it's going to get you to the long game. And that's the thing. Self-disciplined people are long game focused. They know what doing the little things well will help them achieve long term.
Yeah, I love what Jack Hubbard here is. Such a good point, Jack. Self-discipline is important when you have a partner pushing you to succeed. His wife of 50 years has made all the difference. God, you are so right. I look at the things like Mark, I look at our mastermind from a self-discipline standpoint. I mean, I can't not be successful because I have the three of you kind of there keeping an eye on me. And I look at my personal life. I mean, half the time I don't, there are times I don't want to go hit a tennis ball. I'm tired. I don't want to practice. I don't want to, when Rob and I are training on the bikes, I'm not in the mood to go for a ride. But the very fact that you have a partner going there with you. And right now, Rob and I are in the middle of this little exercise contest, and we get X amount of points every day for the exercise we do. And neither one of us wants to lose. So having that partner there keeps you disciplined in doing the exercise. So such a great point, Jack. Such a great point. Get a partner.
I can only imagine the conversation the two of you are having. That is, I mean, I can see right now. Anyway, but hey, here's the whole thing. Self-discipline is also knowing that you have to be accountable. Who are you accountable to? That's why you and I have a mastermind group, and you and I have others in our lives that hold us accountable, and that's absolutely spot on. I'll tell you what, the chat line is lighting up. Larry, if you can't do the little things right, you'll never be able to do the bigger things right. I'll tell you what, this is, and when I'm working with sales leaders, I share with them, I said, look, if you're seeing them cut a corner here, if you're seeing them not doing something here, guess what? There's undoubtedly something else going on. Don't think for a moment, because again, once you start letting down your guard from a self-discipline standpoint, it becomes a slippery slope and it slides downhill very quickly. Yeah. I mean, you talked about school. I know when I was in school, I mean, there were a lot of things that I wish I'd been more disciplined. But, it's the way it was. I wasn't there. Yeah. But now as an adult, you learn what self-discipline is all about. Hey, time continues to move. Man, this is a great conversation here. Should we talk about the book?
Yeah, let's talk about the book.
Okay. Here's the book. Now, the book came to us. It's written by Meridith. Yes, Meridith Elliott Powell. And it was funny. Mark Bregman sent me an email this week. He says, hey, man, I love this book. And would you make it the book? So anyway, the book is 30 Days to Sales Success. Now, it's kind of funny. I saw it pop up on Amazon about 2 months ago. And I bought another copy, because I'm always supporting you, Meredith.
Yeah, I know you are.
And I read through it and I go, yeah, that's book. And you know what's interesting is you first wrote that book, what, about 9 or 10 years ago?
Yeah, I first wrote it about 9 or 10 years ago, 30 Days to Sales Success. We just re-released it. And the reason I wrote the book was everybody kept asking me, how do you turn a prospect into a customer? And I kept answering that question over and over again. And I thought, I'm just going to write that down. And it is literally what you need to do day in and day out, just exactly like both Marks in my life said, that it is literally the discipline, around sales. And Mark, I so appreciate you, especially chapter 29. Everybody should be taking time to invest in themselves. You're so right. In fact, I prioritize investing time in myself, but the 30 days to sales success is literally the roadmap of how to turn a prospect into a customer and a customer into a champion. So really appreciate both of the Marks in my life suggesting that one.
That's good. Hey, and I'm going to add to that. Well, hey, we'll get to that when we get to the lightning round. So, okay, are you ready for the lightning round?
I am.
Okay, 10 ways to exercise self-discipline. You're on the clock. Go.
Number one, make the commitment to do it. Get right with yourself.
Number 2, be accountable to somebody else.
Yeah. Number 3, know your strengths and your weaknesses. So know where you're going to be good at this, but also embrace where you're going to be challenged.
Practice the 10 a.m. rule. By 10 a.m. every morning, you want to have accomplished something significant. It'll juice you up and it'll jazz you up and you'll be more efficient for the day. If the day falls apart, you've still accomplished quite a bit.
Yeah, remove the temptations to not carry forth what you want to. If you want to eat better, get the junk food out of the house. If you need to make more sales calls, make sure that you have the time in the calendar. You haven't overscheduled yourself. So get the temptations out of the way.
Match your self-discipline to the long-term goals you want to accomplish.
Keep it small. Keep it simple. Don't set goals that are too big or too complicated.
I'm going to add to that. Don't try to boil the ocean. When you do the small things well, it's amazing how the big things start falling in place.
Yeah. Make sure that you're doing it daily. Consistency is everything. Small increments of time.
Get up at the same time every morning. Be disciplined in how you spend that first hour.
Yeah. Get the dead weight out of your life. When you start to change things, when you start to be that person on the sales team that wasn't making a lot of calls, but now you're making a lot of calls. And if you're the person who decides to get healthy, understand they're going to be people who are trying to suck you back into not being a self-disciplined person. Make sure you get those people out of your life and surround yourself more with people that are supporting what you're trying to do.
Great. I'll share one more, you share one more, and we'll close it down. Always evaluate your habits. Always evaluate. Take time each week to evaluate how you use your time and ask yourself, what can I do to slightly improve how I use my time next week?
Yeah. Give yourself a break. You're trying to become self-disciplined, and sometimes you won't make your calls. Sometimes you'll eat, 2 pieces of cake instead of 1 or whatever. Give yourself a break and get right back on the horse the next day.
Great. Hey, what a great show. Great comments,
show.
Great audience today. Thank you so much. We want to say thank you for listening to Sales Logic this week. If you like what you hear, subscribe, rate, and review the show on your favorite podcast app. If something we've said has earned you a single dollar, hey, consider telling a friend about our show, because it's how we grow to help you grow. I'm Mark Hunter.
And I'm Meridith Elliott Powell.
Remember, when you sell with confidence and integrity,
uncertainty suddenly becomes your competitive advantage.
And the sale becomes logical.
All right. We will see you right back here next week, 9 a.m. Eastern. You are an amazing audience. We are so lucky and so grateful to have you. Please reach out to saleslogicpodcast.com. Tell us what you're thinking and what you want us to talk about. Mark, love that you chimed in this week and told us a book that we should be focused on. So we're here. We're listening. And we'll see you right back here next week. Until then, close a lot of sales.